On Monday, CNN's Jim Acosta, the White House correspondent, ignored those rules and instead repeatedly interrupted the press secretary at the White House with his questions. Judge for yourself.
Why are the cameras off, Sean? Why did you turn them off? Can you just give us an answer to that? Can you tell us why you turned the cameras off? Why are they off, Sean?
It's a legitimate question.
It's a legitimate question. You are a taxpayer-funded spokesman for the United States government. Can you at least give us an explanation as to why the cameras are off?
After that, Acosta went on CNN and complained, weirdly, about being ignored.
Sean Spicer has refused to take questions from CNN for weeks now. It has been going on for some time. You know, he may have taken a question here or there over the last couple of weeks, but we've largely been just blackballed during these briefings. We're just not getting questions to the White House press secretary. That would not have happened in previous administrations.
Really kind of the Dietrich Bonhoeffer of the White House press corps. Britt Hume spent a lot of time at the White House over the years. He's our senior political analyst, obviously, at Fox, and he joins us now. So I like an aggressive White House correspondent. I've employed a few, even kind of crazed aggressive. But the description of the turning off the cameras as like the end of democracy seems like maybe it calls for some perspective.
Yeah, I would say so, because I can remember back during the Clinton administration and previous administrations as well, when on-camera briefings were not the norm. In fact, the Clinton administration tried it for a while, didn't like the results, and went to a system where they would have some cameras on and microphones on at the top, and then that would be shut down, and the rest of the briefing would proceed. And remember this, no reporter for a news organization as sizable and as important as CNN should be relying on the briefings to get news. A CNN correspondent can get his or her calls returned. New York Times reporter, Washington Post reporter, Fox News correspondent. We can get our calls returned at the White House. It's for the lots and lots of dozens of smaller news organizations that cover the White House on a daily basis, and the briefing is really kind of there for them, to give them a chance to get a question, get it answered, and to learn sort of what the schedule for the day is and the rest of it. It's, you know, if you had a really good question that really led somewhere, you'd never ask it in the briefing because you don't want to inform the entire rest of the press corps what you're working on.
It's kabuki. So it's theater. So you were there for a long time for the networks, for ABC News.
Right.
Did you go to the briefing every day and shout questions?
Well, I went as a rule, but most of the time the briefings are not very helpful under any administration. I mean, you know, the best press secretary in my time was Marlin Fitzwater, who was there for Reagan and then later for Bush. He was very good, but oftentimes the briefings aren't particularly informative. I usually had a crossword puzzle open in front of me at the briefings, and after a while during the Clinton administration, they got to be so uninformative that I didn't even go. I mean, I was in a booth at the back and I could hear, but I was busy with other things. I mean, these briefings have become a certain kind of TV drama day by day, but they're really not for the purpose of information, and no good reporter worth his or her salt would rely on the briefings to get the news.
So just for the record, the changes in the way this White House is presenting the news to the White House press corps, do they seem out of line with you in general? Do they seem
I don't know what the day-to-day experience of reporters on the beat is, because I'm not there anymore. But the situation with the briefings, it seems to me, is a sort of a sideshow. Right. I mean, the real question is, there's something called the pool, which is the subset of the press corps that goes with the president, because the White House is a small place, the airplane is a small place. You can't take everybody and have them following the president around everywhere. It's a good question whether the pool is getting the access it wants. I understand the president leaves them behind sometimes. I think that's regrettable. There's no inconvenience to the president to having a group of reporters in tow. It's not as if they get to barge into social events or walk with him on the golf course. Never has been the case. But we'll see about that. But I mean, by and large, I don't think anything terribly draconian seems to be happening to press freedom in America because of the briefing policies at the White House. When
you're covering, my final question, when you're covering the White House from the briefing room and there are cameras present and you're a TV reporter, how powerful is the temptation to make it about you?
Well, it's a temptation that must be resisted because, you know, you don't want to advertise your best question, right?
Right.
And I guess in this hothouse atmosphere, with this antipathy toward this president as strong as it is now, it's a kind of a form of virtue signaling to be asking tough questions in the briefing, right? And, you know, it seems to me that there's no point in beating up on the briefer. If you want to ask tough questions, you know, try to ask them of the president.
Exactly.
Right?
Or call the guy.
Right.
Because, I mean, they'll take your call. You know what I mean? Call the White House press secretary.
They will take your call. No, it's a way, you know, it's a way of showing. I mean, I asked a question in a press conference in the Rose Garden one time. It was the Ruth Bader Ginsburg nomination announcement, and the President Clinton had gone through kind of an odd process where the White House let it be known that first one candidate was going to be the one, then another, and finally he settled on Ginsburg. And the process, I described the process in my question as kind of a zigzag process. And I asked a question very politely that suggested that people saw it as a zigzag process and asked if he'd care to disabuse us of that notion. Well, he got furious and closed down the news conference. It was a celebrated event. And, you know, these things can happen. I didn't do it to grandstand. It was the question you had to ask. That was the question on everybody's mind. You shouldn't ask questions to grandstand. You should ask questions because you want to know the answer.
If that was provocative, it shows how far we've come.
Indeed.
Or fallen. Brit Hume, thank you.
You bet, Tucker.